3 former Plattsburgh YMCA employees were arrested last week following an investigation into allegations of child abuse at a local daycare. Details on the case just ahead. Good morning. I'm Monica Sandreski, and this is Northern Light for Monday, July 13th. Catherine Wheeler's away today. Also on the show, indigenous communities in the Adirondacks have relied on plants for food, medicine, and other uses for generations. We meet a local college student who's working to preserve the knowledge her Mohawk ancestors passed down about those plants.
This was also a resource that I wanted for people to have. I wanted it to be accessible because people are going to be walking through here, they're going to be hiking, they're going to be kayaking. It needed to be something that they were able to pack easily and be able to move around with.
And this summer, visitors to the Antique Boat Museum in Clayton can see historic wooden vessels up close and watch the construction of a remarkable vessel from scratch.
This section in the middle will have the motor in it and the rudder near to the transom, and it has 2 cockpits, a helm on the starboard side.
Conversation with the Antique Boat Museum's builder-in-residence coming up. Stick with us. Support for Northern Light here on North Country Public Radio comes from the Adirondack Experience, the museum on Blue Mountain Lake, hosting a variety of creative workshops throughout the 2026 season, including photography and basket making. Details at the adkx.org. And from AJA Architecture and Planning in Glens Falls, providing architecture, planning, and interior design services for residential, commercial, and community spaces throughout the North Country. ajaarchitecture.com. This is Northern Light. I'm Monica Sandreski. 3 Plattsburgh residents were arrested last week in connection with child abuse allegations at the local YMCA's daycare center. Kara Chapman has more.
21-year-old Dylan Bronson, 40-year-old Amanda Rizzo, and 28-year-old Autumn Stone were each charged with multiple counts of child endangerment and failure to report child abuse at the Bright Beginnings Child Care Center in Plattsburgh. Bronson also faces 2 counts of misdemeanor assault. The 3 were teachers at Bright Beginnings. Their arrests come months after the state suspended the center's license following substantiated complaints of physical abuse and inappropriate discipline by staff. Bright Beginnings was temporarily shut down, and several employees, including the CEO, were fired. Citing the ongoing investigation, the Clinton County District Attorney's Office declined to provide additional details Friday, but according to a lawsuit filed last month, a now 2-year-old enrolled at Bright Beginnings from September to March was, quote, subjected to repeated acts of physical abuse and maltreatment by Bronson. The lawsuit points to video surveillance of 3 incidents in which Bronson allegedly grabbed the child and others, quote, by their legs and ankles, violently whipped the children up and then down onto their sleeping cots, and then covered their heads and bodies with blankets. The lawsuit claims all 10 children in the classroom experienced similar treatment. It's alleged that Stone and Rizzo were present and failed to report it. The child's parents, who brought the lawsuit, are seeking damages. In a statement, the Plattsburgh YMCA Board of Directors said it was aware of the arrests and has been fully cooperating with law enforcement. The board said it's worked, quote, with external regulatory agencies to ensure the center has policies and procedures in place to prevent such unacceptable incidents from recurring. Bright Beginnings has since reopened to families who'd been enrolled prior to the shutdown. The Plattsburgh Y is now led by an interim CEO. In an interview with WCAX Channel 3 News, District Attorney Andrew Wiley indicated the former CEO, Justin Ein, is a person of interest. Wiley declined to disclose the names of others who might be charged. Rizzo is scheduled to appear in Plattsburgh Town Court Tuesday. Bronson and Stone are due in court later this month. Kara Chapman, North Country Public Radio.
The legislative session has ended in Albany, and summer vacation is in full swing, but there is still plenty to talk about in state news. The New York Public News Network's Jimmy Vielkind and Samuel King talk primary fallout, a prison report, and more in their weekly chat from our Capitol Bureau.
Hi, Jimmy.
Hey, Samuel.
Jimmy, you've done some reporting about how Republicans are reacting to recent Democratic primary wins by progressives, including people endorsed by New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani and the Democratic Socialists of America.
Yeah, I thought some of these new candidates would end up becoming new boogeymen and start showing up in attack ads both in New York and beyond. But for now, at least, Republicans seem to be sticking with Mayor Mamdani as their avatar of what they say are Democratic bad policies.
So sticking with the devil they know?
Basically, yeah. So I spoke with several GOP operatives about this. One is John McLaughlin, a pollster whose clients include Donald Trump and Bruce Blakeman, the current Republican candidate for governor. McLaughlin told me voters just don't know these victors like Aber Kawas, Claire Valdez, and Daria Avila Chevalier.
They're not as well known as like the political class thinks. So it's going to take some work for the Republicans to educate voters to their views.
What do Democrats say about this?
They say it's nothing new. Republicans always try to paint Democrats with some extreme avatar, and it has its limits.
We'll see what happens between now and November. Governor Hochul certainly seems to have her eye on the general election. She was recently in Onondaga County to celebrate progress at the Micron chip fab site, Jimmy.
Indeed, along with Trump administration officials, including Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. Everybody's happy about this, but there was definitely some partisan tension about who should get credit for doing the most to help this site along. Hochul only briefly talked to reporters, but she said the project is going to have a tremendous impact.
That this is the new era of prosperity for upstate New York. We're going to get thousands more people hired, create more opportunities for families, young people that are born in this community to be able to stay here and have jobs.
So Micron is yet another way that Hochul and the Trump administration are jockeying. But Samuel, one way they're on the same page involves a new education tax credit. What's going on there?
Yeah, Jimmy, it's one part of the president's One Big Beautiful Bill Act passed by Congress last year. It allows people to take a $1,700 tax credit that can be used for education, including private school tuition, and that's upset teachers' unions. New York State United Teachers President Melinda Person says New York should learn from other states that have similar programs.
They have really harmed and closed public schools. There's been widespread fraud and abuse. I mean, we really should learn from the mistakes of the other states that have gone down this path, and New York should opt out.
Supporters like the New York State Catholic Conference say the program is a needed step to give parents more say over their child's education. The governor has until January 1st to formally opt in, and a spokesperson tells me she's just waiting for some final language to make sure there isn't a poison pill in there that would harm the state.
Okay. Another thing we're watching is something we've talked about before, problems in the state prison system. A new report took a deep look at the circumstances that led to the beating deaths of two state prisoners, Robert Brooks and Messiah Nantwi. The report also examined the culture in state prisons.
So what did it find about prison culture?
Oh, it's not good. Incarcerated people don't trust guards and vice versa. The report also found that violence was rising before those recent deaths and the 3-week strike that followed. I spoke with Assemblymember Mikhail Salaj. She's a Long Island Democrat who advocates for more prison oversight. She says she wasn't really surprised by these findings.
The killing of Robert Brooks and Messiah Nantwi weren't just a few bad actors, that it's a systemic issue that is something that we need to address.
She says she's looking at what new legislation should be enacted in the wake of the report.
We'll see what she comes up with and whether it passes.
Indeed we will. Talk soon, Samuel.
Take care, Jimmy.
Capitol Bureau reporters Jimmy Vielkind and Samuel King. This is NCPR. You're listening to Northern Light from North Country Public Radio. It's 8:11. Good morning. I'm Monica Standreski. Just ahead on the show, we'll meet the boat builder in residence at the Antique Boat Museum in Clayton. That's coming up in just a few here on North Country Public Radio. Support for the station comes from the Adirondack Artists Guild on Main Street in Saranac Lake, a gallery of 15 local artists bringing fine art to the Adirondacks for over a quarter century. AdirondackArtistsGuild.com. In from the View restaurant at Mirror Lake in Lake Placid. Contemporary American cuisine, handcrafted cocktails, and select wines. Served with views of Mirror Lake and the high peaks. MirrorLakeInn.com/dining. You've been listening to music here from Ursa in the Major Key out of Plattsburgh. If you spend enough time outdoors, you've probably walked by plants that are edible, medicinal, or otherwise useful without even realizing it. For indigenous communities in the Adirondacks, knowledge of those plants has been passed down for generations. But centuries of displacement, land and language loss have made those traditions harder to preserve. One local college student is working to reconnect with that knowledge by creating a foraging guide to the plants growing on her own campus. David Escobar has our story.
Ronnie Sunday walks through a grassy field on the Paul Smith College campus. She kneels down beside small clusters of fuzzy leaves poking through the grass.
So this is going to be in the first stage of its growth, and then you can see the ones that are still standing right behind us.
She's talking about mullein. Many people know it as a roadside weed. Sunday knows it as medicine.
So these are good for people with asthma. It's good for clearing out your lungs, and I probably need that right now. So you can dry the leaves.
Sunday has spent the past few years learning about mullein and other plants in the Adirondacks, and the knowledge her ancestors carried about them.
So this is actually one of the first plants that I was introduced to when I started this little botanical journey, mainly because I see it everywhere. It's all over my yard.
Sunday lives in Akwesasne, also known as the St. Regis Mohawk Reservation. She recently graduated from Paul Smith College, where she spent the past year documenting the edible and medicinal plants growing around campus, turning it into a pocket-sized field guide.
This was also a resource that I wanted for people to have. I wanted it to be accessible because people are going to be walking through here, they're going to be hiking, they're going to be kayaking. It needed to be something that they were able to pack easily and be able to move around with.
As we continue down the trail, she rarely makes it a few steps before spotting something else, each with its own story. Needles on a towering white pine tree.
So you can make these as a tea.
Wintergreen bushes by our feet.
You can chew on it, and this also works as an aspirin.
Paper birch bark that's fallen to the forest floor.
Yes, it will fall off. Yes, you can peel this, but if you're peeling it before it's actually ready to be peeled, you're damaging the tree.
There are 20 different plants in Sunday's guide. Each entry includes its English name, how to identify it, and where it usually grows. But it also includes something you wouldn't find in most field guides. The plants are translated into Ganigeha, the Mohawk language, and paired with descriptions of how Mohawk people traditionally use them.
So Galize means mullein, and it also means yarn.
Sunday says that's because Ganigeha is a highly descriptive language. It's polysynthetic, and the words often combine ideas to describe what someone's seeing. Mullein's soft, fuzzy leaves resemble yarn. Other plant names describe colors, shapes, and relationships with the natural world.
The language is very intricately entwined with the land. So when you're looking at some of the plants in the language and you're looking at how they're translated, it'll just be like yellow flower, a lot of yellow flowers. It has a red root, but then when you really break it down, it's talking about the way that the root looks like blood.
But the number of Mohawk people who can speak Ganigeha fluently has shrunk over generations. Colonization and war drove many Mohawks from their ancestral homes. Boarding schools also forced indigenous children to abandon their language altogether. For Sunday, those losses go hand in hand.
Since the language is so woven with the land, you can't really have one without the other.
Sunday says she sees her field guide as a step towards preserving parts of the language and relearning it herself.
I think that it really changes the way that you think and the way that we interact with the land. As someone that spoke English for most of my life, I didn't have that connection. This project was also a healing process for me. It still is. I'm reconnecting with my culture. It's this is my reconnection project.
But Sunday says the guide is also meant for people beyond herself. Paul Smith's college sits on land with a long indigenous history. Sunday says she wanted to create a resource that acknowledged that.
And I was like, well, I'm going to take the next step. I'm going to be the one to create this resource for people to use, to come back here, because everyone keeps saying we're allowed to be here, but there's nothing for us to stand on. There's nothing for us to have while we're here.
Sunday hopes her field guide can be part of that foundation to build on and eventually expand. For now, she says it's a way for students to learn about the plants growing around them and the centuries of knowledge carried with them. David Escobar, North Country Public Radio, Paul Smith's College.
David Escobar is a Report for America Corps member. He reports on diversity issues in the Adirondacks through a partnership between North Country Public Radio and the Adirondack Explorer. Two North Country hospitals failed to comply with federal price transparency requirements. Since 2021, hospitals have been required to upload healthcare prices before patients are charged. Channel 7 News is reporting that the federal government sent out warnings to 500 hospitals across the country that didn't comply. And those included Lewis County Health System in Lowville and Messina Memorial Hospital in St. Lawrence County. Lewis County Health System CEO Jerry Kayer says the hospital wasn't notified of changes to the required data format. He says they had complied in previous years. Messina Memorial Hospital said a technical issue delayed its required submission. Both hospitals are expecting to be compliant with the requirements by the end of the month. Watertown passed a law last week with new safety requirements for e-bikes. The move comes almost a year after a woman died in a biking accident in Thompson Park. Richard Haller reports.
People who ride electric bikes in the city of Watertown are now required to wear helmets and stay off sidewalks. Standard bikes are only allowed on sidewalks if the rider is under 12 years old. The Watertown City Council passed the new safety measures at its meeting last Monday. People who violate the new rules could be fined $150 for first-time offenses and $300 for any other offenses within 18 months. At the council meeting, Watertown resident Patricia Oatridge pushed back and said the city should invest in more bike-friendly infrastructure.
If y'all want to enforce helmets and tell people they can't ride on the sidewalks and they can't go through the square or they have no way of getting around town, then you need to make bike lanes. In Europe, they do it, no problem. What's the problem in Watertown?
Councilmember Robert Kimball said he agrees that there should be more bike lanes, but that this isn't something the city can afford right now.
A helmet is just a basic safety thing. It's like wearing your seatbelt in your car. It reduces your risk of death from an accident.
City officials said they put together the new law in response to several biking accidents. Last year, a 66-year-old woman died from head injuries after being thrown from her bike in Thompson Park. And just last spring, an 18-year-old riding an e-bike was hospitalized after colliding with a car. The new law takes effect immediately. Richard Haller, North Country Public Radio.
SUNY Potsdam has received its second $1 million gift from a television producer. Chuck Lorre attended SUNY Potsdam for 2 years and went on to create shows like The Big Bang Theory. He first donated to the college in 2024 during a campus visit. Now Lorre has given the school another $1 million. The college says this will help support programs like its advising center. SUNY Potsdam has been struggling financially in recent years with a $6.5 million deficit. The North Country now has its first international bobsled and skeleton representative in 45 years. Tuffy LaChore from Saranac Lake was voted to the Federation board last month. LaChore is a former bobsled athlete and competed in the 1995 World Championships. He later coached U.S. women's and men's bobsled and skeleton teams. During his coaching career, his athletes earned 6 Olympic and World Championship medals, including the first women's bobsled Olympic gold medal in the U.S. LaTour is set to serve on the International Bobsled and Skeleton Federation board between the 2030 Winter Olympics and through the 2030 Winter Olympics in the French Alps. And in North Country baseball, the Saranac Surge swept their series against the Malone Border Hounds over the weekend, and the Tupper Lake River Pigs beat the North Country Thunderbirds in back-to-back games. Today, the Saranac Surge faced the North Country Thunderbirds at home. First pitch is at 1 o'clock this afternoon, and the Border Hounds play the River Pigs in Tupper Lake tonight at 7. This is NCPR. You're listening to Northern Light here on North Country Public Radio. It's 8:22. I'm Monica Sandreski. Stick around after the show for Bird Note, and that's just ahead at 8:42. But first, going to take a look at the weather forecast today. Sunny skies, at least partly sunny skies at least, are coming your way today, with highs expected to reach into the 80s throughout the region. Heat and humidity is expected to build over the next couple of days. National Weather Service has issued a heat advisory for much of the region tomorrow. That includes the Tug Hill, the Black River Valley, Champlain Valley, St. Lawrence Valley, and the Glens Falls, Saratoga area too. Pretty much the entire area surrounding the Adirondack Park. You folks in the Adirondack Park hopefully will get a little bit of relief, and fingers crossed for you there. At last check, it was 71 degrees in Malone, 62 degrees right now in Tupper, 58 degrees in Newcomb, 69 degrees in Glens Falls and on Wellesley Island, and 57 degrees in Old Forge. This summer, visitors to the Antique Boat Museum in Clayton can see historic wooden vessels up close, and they can watch the construction of a remarkable vessel from scratch. For a third consecutive summer, Julius Faubel has traveled from his home in Munich, Germany, to be the Antique Boat Museum's builder-in-residence. The boats he builds are models, replicas of some of the most iconic pieces of the museum's collection. This year, Faubel has been building a model of the Pardon Me. That's a 48-foot boat believed to be the longest vessel of its kind in the world. Faubel spoke with Mitch Teich for the NCPR Northwards podcast.
How did you go from being a software engineer to being a model boat builder?
I was in need of a counterbalance to my job, and software is all virtual, abstract, and it's all brain work, more or less. I wanted something to touch, something physical, and showing a certain beauty.
Did you have an existing interest in old boats?
Yes, for a long time. My father used to be a cartwright, and we always had wood and tools in our house. And the first thing my father he did me a toy I could put on a string, and it was a little boat, and I went to a stream nearby our house, and this is still something going back. It's deep in me.
And so at what point, how long have you been building boats?
15. I started 15 years ago. I saw a commercial post at the train station of an insurance company showing a grandpa wearing a Panama hat, and on one arm he had his grandchild, and in his other hand he had a model sailboat. So I said, yeah, this could be me in a few years. And this thought, this idea accompanied me a while, and I was sure I don't want to do kids. Everyone has kids and can do kids, and This is not deep diving, and my nature is I like to go deep.
Well, and kits are limiting in the sense that you have to work with the idea that whoever made the kit wants you to go with.
Yeah, correct. This is, and I modify my boats because I'm the builder in this specific situation, and see how I can improve it to make fitting it my needs. Yeah.
Well, and so what was the first boat that you made?
This was a sailboat, the smallest sailboat class at the Olympic Games 1936 in Berlin. Quite nice boat, but a model sailboat doesn't scale to a real sailboat because you do not need waves on one hand, but you need wind. And so there's only a few days in a year where the wind matches the sailboat. Yeah.
At what point did you connect with the Antique Boat Museum? How did you end up here 3 years ago?
After the sailboat, I found a lot of nice powerboats in the U.S. History, beginning with Chris Craft, very famous boat brand and manufacturer, and of course, then I came along Hacker, and I studied his life. He was German too, and the Lineman brothers were German too. So there was a connection to American mahogany powerboats. And one day I found the Pardon Me in a model internet platform describing all the technical details and how the guy did it. And in the meantime, I met this man in this workshop. Last year he came in and introduced him to me, and it was just meeting friends I have not known before. Yeah, using drawings, digging into it, and especially Pardon Me is a very interesting project because I read the book about Pardon Me. You can buy it at the museum shop, and it's 80% of the book is about gossip, means telling the stories about the owners, and only 20% is about the Packard motor and how it performed.
Could we go take a look at it in an audio way? So tell me where things are at this point.
It starts at the bow and it ends at the transom. Okay.
As most boats do.
Front end and rear end. And this section in the middle will have the motor in it and the rudder near to the transom. And it has two cockpits, a helm on the starboard side, port side, sorry, not starboard side, and another cockpit for the passengers. And there is a connecting aisle. So you can move from one cockpit to the other cockpit, walking over the motor.
And you have architectural drawings of this to start with, a blueprint of this to start with?
Yeah. The good thing is, this man, Greg Rice, he introduced me to Library of Congress because Pardon Me was declared a piece of art, and the museum had a specialist working out new drawings. He measured it, and Todd Croteau did a fine job taking all the measures and created a very fine set of plans. And you can download the blueprints, the drawings from Library of Congress.
And from there, it just required scaling it to a degree that you were comfortable working.
Yes, I imported the PDFs, and I had to redraw all the lines to make it cat vectors, and then milling all the parts, the ribs, and find out whether they fit together and whether there are dents in the sides and the bottom and the deck. This was quite an interesting project, yes.
And the point you're at now is this is essentially a skeleton of a boat, but once you get to the point where you're putting the finishing touches, do I understand, is everything bespoke, if you will, handmade?
everything is handmade, at least with my fingers on my computer in CAD. So I could not have done this project this summer without the support of Greg Rice and his friend. He gave me the STL files, the stereolithographic files, which I sent for broadcasting. I got it back and I had to send it, buff it, send it for chrome plating. A long story. And I tell you, 8 very intense months just to prepare the parts for the summer.
Julius Faubel is the builder-in-residence at the Antique Boat Museum in Clayton, New York. He spoke with Northward's podcast host, Mitch Teich. Support for Northern Light comes from the Depot Theater in Westport, inviting all to take a journey without leaving the station. Details and performance schedule at depottheater.org. And from Casella Resource Solutions, serving the waste and recycling needs of homeowners and businesses, online at casella.com. Wrap up the show today with a little bit of music from Larry Hamm. The local jazz musician is performing this Thursday evening at the Norwood Village Green as part of the Norwood Village Green concert series. Show starts at 7. You can find out more info at nvgcs.org. Music we're going out on, perfect for a weekday morning. It's Hamm's original piece, Brazilian Coffee. That's the Larry Hamm Trio. Their song, Brazilian Coffee. Larry Hamm will be performing this Thursday in Norwood at 7 o'clock. That's it for the show. I'm Monica Sandreski. Be well.